Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your Sensei Al Bob, your griot, here to tell you a story. And what is a griot? What do we do? What does a griot do? Well, he goes into a shamanic state. And what is a shamanic state? It is a frame, a worldview, right? That is everything is love's co-creation within the construct of the we in me, meaning your life is not about you. Your life is about all our relations, everything that is connected to you, right? Through every scaled, feathered, furred, skinned creature, cold and warm blooded, silicate, biologic entity that is here with us now. That those are all our relations. We're all interconnected. Whatever you do affects them. Whatever they do affects you. And the bonding grace of the positive outcome is love's co-creation. Now, this show is not for the faint at heart. It is not for the snowflakes. It is not for folk who just believe in their tribe and their silo and everything else is wrong and not even going to have an open conversation to try to understand what the heck is going on. So we have for the past 160,000 years moving towards this period in time. The stars are lined in such a way that, whoa baby, are we in for a howdy doody rump this ride? Yeah. And are you a good bee? Can you do a doobie? Will you be a good bee? Will you do your best? Not try. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. I can't do it. Boo hoo hoo. Who's here? Who's lining up? Martin Young. Hello, Martin. Just heading up the till here at lovely Cornwall. Yes, lovely Cornwall. Hey, if you got anything, Martin, to throw to, and this is a good time to say, you want to get a hold of me at you do it at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. All lowercase, all together. Go to PayPal. It's my birthday. It's my birthday all month long. February is my birthday because I'm an African American that's melanin challenged. So come on, throw something in there because I could surely use it, right? And I'm out on the bop. I'm not in the deep green. I have been here, there, and everywhere since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I left it. I closed up the deep green, and my neighbors have been keeping an eye on things, especially the ones with guns. A lot of people got guns, and that's a good thing as long as they don't start shooting people, right? Having a gun is a good thing. Shooting people, not a good thing, right? The inn is locked up. Okay. At good old Cornwall. I love Cornwall. I love England. England is so right on, so V for Vendetta, right? Martin, did you like that movie, V for Vendetta? One of my favorites because it took place in England and it really caught the essence of being an Englander, right? Now, Cornwall, how far is that from London? Because anything within 100K of London is you're like a Londoner. And because when I lived in London, I was so amazed at how good your mass transit was. For being something, of course, have you watched Poldark? Nope, I'll have to watch it. Poldark. Martin, if you could, because I have a sense that you have the pulse of what's going on, send me any links to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Martin, I'd love to hear for you. I'd love to, and this goes for anybody else. Yes, it'd be great if people could put stuff in my PayPal, right? I could use it. Middle of the month, pretty much any time of the month, I could use it. I'm a guy who lives like a millionaire on $400 a month, right? And a lot of people, most people, if they're as beat up as I am, as sick as I am, get what is known as disability. And I used to get disability until I became 65. Then they said, "Oh, you're going to get Social Security," and I went from like $1,800 a month to 400, and I had to pay for my health care. So I had to, do some negotiating, but I'm living like a millionaire on $400 a month, and that is because I am here to serve. Love's co-creation. Love always takes care of me, right? I don't worry about anything, Yeah, how do you? I worry. That's not me, I'm just flown back from the French Alps. Ooh, very nice. Had a week skiing. Oh, la la la. LA playing with friends was great. Yep. So if you spent all that kind of disposable income, you could throw something to your sensei Al Bob on his PayPal. Just, when they ask, it's the dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. And Martin, I'd love to talk to you, so please get a hold of me and everyone else who wants to talk personally with your sensei Al Bob, the dudewake42 at Gmail. Because, this year, 2022 is going to be one heck. You thought back in the day when 9/11 happened, you thought that was crazy. Then you thought, oh my God, weapons of mass destruction. You thought that was crazy. Then, the, good old, lovely, hidden hands Arab Spring that basically, torched the whole Middle East, into disruption. This was the beginning of the big splat. And I've been talking about the big splat for the last 3 years, right? And been talking about all of this. So what's coming? What's coming? I would say between now and the 4th of July, we're going to have disclosure about aliens. They're here. Oh my God. And they're a threat. They're worse than anything ever. Oh my God. Oh my God. Forget aliens. Go watch Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict. And that Gene boy, he was on top of it. He always was. Look, he talked about the flip phone 30 years before it showed up. Right? So when I was a little boy, a little bit of peanut of a boy, my daddy was a bird colonel in the Strategic Air Command. He and good old crazy General LeMay was going to incinerate the world to keep, our bodily fluids safe from the commies, Joe watched that good old Stanley Kubrick film called Dr. Strangelove and How I Learned to Love the Bomb, right? Then go watch another great film by Stanley Kubrick called Clockwork Orange, right? Or that other great one, Lolita, or that other great one, what was that one called? And Laurence Olivier in the jacuzzi, playing with fart bubbles. Oh boy. Anyway, so we've gone from 5 people watching to 2. Come on, you gotta go tell your friends that they gotta go to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob and subscribe. Come on, I need those subscribers. Come on. This is like a Jerry Lewis telethon right here. This is a Sensei Al Bob Jerry Lewis telethon, and I am channeling Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Boo, 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 boo. Down to 1. Not very entertaining, eh? Anyway, so, okay. Aliens showing up before the 4th of July. We will get disclosure, before April Fool's Day will be disclosure day. Yep, I would, if I had any money, and if you put it in my PayPal, I'll bet on it that's going to be the time frame. Disclosure, April 1st. Aliens, landing on the front lawn to go speak with Joe Biden, and he's going to come out in a tutu, and Kamala's going to be wearing a jock strap, and Obama, he's going to show up, and he's going to be in a cigar wrapper, right? So it's going to be interesting, And Danny Yump will, have his carrot head, right? And he will be playing every Thursday and Saturday at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, playing Carrot Head, Yanni Chum. So these next few months will make the last 160,000 years seem like nothing. The hills are alive, boom, boom, with the sound of fascism. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Just a lot of just amazing stuff. What's going on? And I would say that before Halloween, we will have a zebra, ice station zebra variant, right? And we will lose all technology. Electricity will go bye-bye. No cars, no gas, no food, no refrigeration, no hospitals, no electricity whatsoever, no internet, no phones. Zippo. The hills are alive, boom, boom, with the sound of music. So back in the day when my mom was the hostess with the mostest, and my phone traveled around to more crazy places than people knew the Air Force had, and my mom was the hostess with the mostest. And so most of the decisions were made under the influence of extreme alcoholism by the COG. Go look up what COG is. Go to a good place to start to go down rabbit hole is dark journalism, whatever it is. Dark journalism, dark journalist, dark journal, something. Ethnography. What is ethnography? It's anything hidden in plain sight. But that boy, he's got enough shows, especially the ones with Joseph P. Farrell, the ones with Catherine Austin Fitz, the ones with the boy, whatever professor that guy's name is, who's all about COG. Go look up what COG is, right? It's control of government, right? And all the mystery schools, Mr. Dark Journalist, very good about mystery schools. Who killed JFK? Why all those people had to die? Like something about 3,500 folk just seemed to die. Marilyn Monroe, Dorothy Kilgallen, et al. My good friend Bill Cooper. Go read his book, Beyond the Pale Horse, right? Go read my other good buddy, Preston Nichols, right? The Montauk Project. I'll tell you the story about Montauk Project, right? So I was involved in all of these different mystery schools in New York City and the East Coast between 1966 and 88, right? And I was involved in all of these conferences, before conferences with the rage, between, disclosure in the desert, disclosure at the IHOP, disclosure at whatever. I was putting on these interesting conferences, and the conferences were people who were at it, in it, by it. Like good old David Icke. Met him in the early '90s, right? We did an amazing conference at the United Nations where we wrapped all of this stuff up, and we did the first planetary conference on the internet in 80. Ooh, when was that? 84? I think it was 84. We were going on the Orwell motif, HG, and Orwell, HG, and what's his name? The guy who endorsed perception. Because all of us who had been part of this scene, because it wasn't even a movement, it was a scene, we understood. I mean, I learned about, L7, about Alternative 3, about, MK Ultra, in about around 1959, when I was a kid, when I was in a cocktail party, and, good old Werner von Braun was at it, and he was drunk out of his mind. And he basically just went down the whole line. And, it's like he's been reading Stan Lee's Captain America, Hail Hydra. Or Stan Lee had gone to a cocktail party, much like one my parents had with drunk Werner. But anyway, he was saying that, war is all there is, that everything that's going on Earth is just a supplement to a paranormal war that was going on across the dimensional universes, and that the Cold War was just a soap opera. World War II was just a continuation of World War I, which was just a continuation of the Crimean War, which is the continuation of the Boer War, which was continuation of you name it, right? And that we were just a mud puppet being controlled by the gods of Ares through all of the folk who came down. When you read the Bible, and it said that, and the Enkidu and all of those clowns came down and went into the women of man. What does that mean? They were fornicating, as John likes to say. They're fornicating, committing sin, fornicating. Well, what is fornicating? Fornicating is when you're, not, there's nothing wrong with making love. That's what they call it, making love, right? When you have love in your heart for someone who you're with, and it not necessarily needs to be your wife, that, what the word fuck means? Fornication under, church, king. That's what fuck means. Fornication under church and king, right? And fornication is when you are having intercourse, when the penis enters the female vagina without consent. That is fornication, right? And when anything is done in that manner, you're basically causing a conflict within the code of the folk who created the vibration of this universe, right? And it's all about love. The only thing that exists is love. Everything else is an illusion. So fornication is a big illusion, right? But making love is not, And so all of the rules and regulations and, past participles that are put on human experience is just mind control, just, slavery put within a code, like the Code of Hammurabi, So, that's kind of where it is. What you want to do with it is it's up to you, because you are the decider. When I kind of went off the reservation in 2006 and went, and I, there was nothing wrong for me working for the corporations. So there's nothing wrong with me working for the desperate corporate lawyers and having them pay me ridiculous amounts of money for me basically doing what I'm doing right now, right? But when I embraced, and not spiritually, but physically, the lifestyle, right? I went to the breakfast and consumed, a bottle of champagne, smoked a blunt, had, 3,200 calories just for breakfast, and then had about 22,000 calories for lunch, and had about 180,000 calories for dinner. And I did that 10 years straight. I bent the unit. What can I say? Do I regret that? No. Did I learn something? Oh, yes, I learned something. Don't do that. So I died. And, there I was, at my life reveal. And all my teachers and mentors and guys were there. And they're all slapping me on the back and telling me what a great job I'm doing. But, my number one shamanic sensei, my personal one, my master, Akasha K, said, "Hey, you're doing a great job, buddy, but," and I go, "Okay, but what?" "But you need to go back." "Oh, come on. I've already done enough. I just want to go home and take it easy, kick my feet up." And he goes, "Come on. You've done a great job. So do you want to not finish with a flurry and over the goal line?" I said, "But you keep telling me there's no finish line." And he goes, "Yes, but there is a goalpost, and you need to kick that last, ball through the goalpost, get it in the goal." Okay. He goes, "You've completed better than really anyone else that I know, 88% of everything you're in, and in the best way. You've always done your best. But you're going to give up now with 11%. That's all you got to do. You got 2 more lives. Go on back. Come on. You finish that, you get to step up. Yeah, you can go home now. Yeah, you can kick it. You can take if anybody needed some, recreational experience, that's you. But your whole life is one big long vacation. So who's kidding who?" And I'm just listening to him. I go, "Okay." So when I go back, well, I went up to reservation 10 years. I'm like 300 pounds overweight. I'm probably dead. How am I going to come back? He said, "No, you're only kind of dead. You're not totally dead. You're not all the way dead." I said, "But if I go back, they're going to slice me up like bologna." "Don't let them." Okay, that's a good beginning for the next 11 points. If you take control, if you say no, if you don't go along to get along, that's a good beginning for these next 11 points, which I did. And I said, "So after that, you're going to have to, not atone, not pay back, but it took you 10 years to get to that. And that means you're going to spend some time, pasting yourself back together. And you do that, you'll get quite a few, bright stars for that. You'll probably be 6% done, meaning you only got another, 5% to go." I said, "But I could take forever." He goes, "No more than 20 years. I said, "What?" I'll be like, "Well, your mother died at 103. Your dad died at 98. Your grandma died at 100. Like, what about grandpa? He died at 59. He goes, "Yep. Well, he had done so much. He was like a track star. He was constantly, so he did everything. So why wait around? Him and grandma, they could, continue being lovey-dovey even when he was always there for your grandma." Okay. Not a problem. Bang! There I am on the gurney, watching the fluorescent lights go over my head, hearing the guy clipping the clipboard. And I sit straight up, and I have an IV of fentanyl in my arm. And the nurse right there in her little undies, and it drills all over the floor. The guy pushing the gurney, he freaks out, tries to run away, slides, whee, right down the hallway on that brown surfboard. And the doctor, the guy getting paid the most, the anesthesiologist, the drug doctor, you can't be awake. You got so much. I don't. I said, what's going on? Well, we're about to crack your chest, give quadruple bypass, and you're going to cut your legs off. I said, no. Well, you're going to die. I said, good. Good. No. Roll me back in that. But that guy over there, your lawyer said it was okay. And no, you said that if you got to do this, I'd be ready to go in a week or two. So I could do what he wants me to do. I'll be dead, or, I won't be able to do anything for the rest of my life. Fuck you, asshole. Just because this guy is going to, he's got his platinum credit card and you've got the number and you're drooling to get the 300 G's for this whole debacle. No. Back in that thing, I'm having that guy sue you. Not only will you be working in a salt mine, but so will your wife and your children and your dog, and you'll die down there. It'll be because it's not salt; it'll be uranium you're digging up, and I'll own this hospital, and they'll name it after me. Al Bob Memorial. No. Back to the ICU with me. So I did. I scared the shit because, man, it's like I came out of the dead. I had all this fentanyl in me. Bing! There I was. And I, was there. And then my lawyer came, my client, not my lawyer, my client said, what do you say? I said, listen, if they did what, all they were looking at me as dollar signs. You want me to finish the job. Never going to happen if I go under the knife. I'll be dead or worse. What I need is to go down to your really nice house down in the Keys for 2 weeks. I need a colonic. I need a colonic, therapist, person who'll stay there for a month, pulling the crap out of my colon. I need acupuncturist. I need a forensic, the guy who takes your blood and really tells you what's going on. I need acupuncturist. I need, I gave him a whole list, and he did. He sent me down, he, put me in an ambulance, sent me down there. And all those people were waiting, and I got a nutritionist and endocrinologist. That's a forensic endocrinologist. You should check that out. And they took 2 weeks, and I was good enough. They rolled me in a wheelchair, and I negotiated a deal for him, right? And I basically used my really looking like I was dead. Potent in that I basically said, hey guys, if you do not come to Jesus on this contract, I'm going to haunt you all for the rest of existence. So they signed. And flown back from, there's Jabberwocky, Pale Horse. Where, what a book. Yep. And Bill was a good friend. And Bill died. He wanted, when he wrote that book, he wanted to die in a hail of bullets. It took about 25 years, but he finally got his wish. Yes, I knew him. I knew him pretty well. I never went to the West, but every time he came to New York for a conference, we went out and drank. And I had all these friends who were Mercs. So I took him to a Merc bar. He felt like at home, right? He felt safe, right? And I have a lot of good Merc stories. Here's a good Merc story. So my friend Frank, who owned Puffy's, nice Jewish boy, his mother wanted him to be a dentist, and he took whatever money they were going to give him to college, and he became a beat, like a late beat, like a 1970s beat, 1960s beat. And he wasn't a poet or anything, but he loved hanging out with those guys. He went to NYU. He hung out with them, along the Dougal Street and all the coffee clutch things. And that's kind of where I met him. And, when Al and I were roomies on 9th and B, Frankie came to a bunch of our salons. And And he really got into it. And then he kind of disappeared because I went to the West for 3 or 4 years and got involved in lots of different things. But later on, in the early 80s, Frank ended up owning this building called Puffy's, which had been a workers' bar for all the exchanges down there on Thomas Street, Thomas and Hudson. And right now there's a big, gigantic building called the Long Lines, and it's about 40 stories tall, not a single window. It's designed to survive a, airburst nuclear weapon right on top of it, right? And it goes underground. It's up 40 stories. It goes underground 60 stories. And that's the Long Lines built on Thomas Street. Go look that one up. And so right across the street was this workers' bar, and it had been abandoned for a long time. And Frank got a hold of it in the 70s when real estate in New York was like, that's when you should have bought something. It was like, New York City was bankrupt for a good 18 years. And then, they fired half the police, this whole thing about, taking money away from the police. Well, just look at New York City between 1970 and 1982. And if you defund the cops, that's what you get, because half the cops who got let go, they used to have 30,000 cops. They went down to 10,000, right? And the people who were doing all the crime, all the murdering, all the killing were the 20,000 cops who lost their job. I lived in Brooklyn, and I used to walk across the Williamsburg Brook. I lived in this great loft, that right where the clock tower was, where the church of the guys who wear the golden underpants, those guys. They had a printing place that all of their books and everything came from the clock tower, and it was kind of just a mile or two. It was between the military terminal and the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And there's a stretch of, Manhattan Bridge, Brooklyn Queens Expressway. And it's about a 20 block. All of these buildings that were thrown up to build stuff for World War II that were right next to, the terminal where all of the tanks, bullets, everything that went to Europe went through from all over America and Canada. Every train line went through there. They picked it up. They put it on those Liberty ships. And the Liberty ships were being built in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and they were kicking out one Liberty ship every week. And it would just kind of put over to this place. They'd unload it. And these buildings are about, 40, 50 brick, beautiful and poured concrete buildings that are up maybe 20 to 30 stories, that were like the offices, the engineering, and manufacturing. And then after World War II, they were abandoned and didn't take them down. Now they're all condos, and the rich people live in them. But I lived in one, 10,000 square feet, windows all the frickin' around. You could see all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, over Queens, and all, Manhattan, and the Manhattan Bridge and Brooklyn Bridge were right freaking there. And I used to just walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. Like the building I lived in was half a block from the steps that went up to the Brooklyn Bridge. And there were 2 subway stops there, and the PATH train that went there. I could go, when I worked at the Newark College of Engineering, I could take the PATH train. So anyway, just like when I lived in the West Village, I took the PATH train to my job at the Brooklyn, the Newark College of Engineering. Anyway, so when New York went bankrupt, I'm like walking across the thing to go home. It's about 4 o'clock, and traffic was starting to back up on the Williamsburg Bridge. I mean, there's the Williamsburg Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge, right? And Brooklyn and Manhattan kind of, Brooklyn comes from right in front of City Hall to that place where my place was. And the Manhattan Bridge comes from Canal Street right to that. And that kind of goes up onto the BQE and it can take you from Canal Street onto Queens and Long Island. And anyway, so I'm walking across, and all these cops right? With all these signs about, you fired me, motherfucker. And I am walking home, and I, right in front of the city hall, and across the street is the New York City, whatchamacallit, office building. The federal building is right across the street from that, and the Supreme Court is right across from the federal building, and the New York State Supreme Court is right there. And when I was in the union, IBEW, we built the prison that when guys would go to the New York State federal for hearings and or the federal thing for hearings, they'd stay in this prison. Super duper high tech, built in the 70s. I worked on that later 60s, early 70s, and that's where Jeffy Boy kind of maybe could have committed suicide. And I don't know if he did, or if they just got somebody to take his place, or he was given a shot to look like he was dead. Who knows? Because he went from being a lower middle class kid to being a billionaire in 2 years, and then he was ruling the world because he was blackmailing all the politicians. Billy Boy, I did not have. I did not have intercourse with that Billy Boy, not Microsoft Billy Boy. He was on the Lolita Express probably, I don't know, 20 times, and pretty much everybody else. All of those puddinhead poster boys of banking and the Silicon Valley. I'm sure they all were on the Lolita, right? And pretty much every politician we have is like the best money can buy, pale horse. Yep. So anyway, Bill was a righteous dude, but he, like I said, he wanted to die in a hail of bullets because he felt he was in the Navy, and he, took it. I mean, all of the NIA folk, national intelligence. Navy is it, because they've been doing it longer than anybody else, right? More than the CIA, NSA, you name it. The Navy's been at it before the Revolutionary War. So MJ-12 is all U.S. Navy, right? And back in the day when we saw a flying saucer and a cigar-shaped thing. You know what cigar-shaped was? Cigar-shaped was a Polaris submarine with anti-gravity modules on it. Because what better thing could you ever want for a spaceship than a submarine that is designed to be able to withstand pressures of going down 1,000 feet in the sea? Space doesn't even have that kind of pressure. It's a vacuum, right? So you want it real quick, real easy. The Polaris submarines that were becoming aged, they turned into cigar-shaped, what is known as Solar Warden, right? And it had a nuclear reactor on board. So, hey, we got a lot of juice because you don't really need to dump that much current into a gravomagnetic propulsion unit, And really, once you get it humming, it clicks right into the 0 point. So it's working on its own juice. It's very similar. So why did Elon Musk, and he didn't even know this, but Tesla was named Tesla because most electric cars just had DC motors. Tesla uses an alternating current induction motor, because once you get the car rolling, it takes no current to keep it rolling, right? That's what an induction motor does. It keeps making current. And so you don't need a lot of juice. And now that they have these very interesting new paper-thin batteries instead of the lead, zinc, or whatever alkaloid metal they wanted to use for battery, the paper-thin ones are kind of, a version of a 0 point. But 0 point current, Tesla, discovered that in the 1890s. and Newton discovered it back in his day, and the Greeks discovered it back in their day, and the Egyptians discovered it back in their day, and the Babylonians discovered it, meaning technology has been. So Lemuria and Atlantis, its technological base was, maybe 70,000 years ahead of where we are now. And even with our the guys who are out there in solar and water, and their technology is probably 2,500 years of what you can buy at Walmart's, right? So, Atlantis Lemuria's technology was probably, 160,000 years ahead of that. So, what's old is new, and what's new is old. And that's where we're heading this year. We're going to be looking through the looking glass like you never thought it ever was, and that's XXX. I can't pronounce it because my my jaw and esophagus was damaged by a Nazi torture maiden known as the milkmaid of torture at Auschwitz. And she was my first grade nun, because about 70,000 Nazis came into our government and our country via Operation Paperclip and the Vatican rat line. So you should, and again, you want to know all of this that I'm just, babbling on about, just go watch, Marvel's, basic Captain America 1, 2, and 3. That tells you the whole story. And if you go look at the Thor movies, that tells you another thing. And the one where, the first Avengers, where Tony takes Iron Man up into space and puts the nuclear weapon through the doorway and blows up those guys. All of this has happened, or is happening, or it's going to happen, or already did happen, and then it'll happen again. And this, it's like, and that was the brilliance and genius of Stan Lee, because he really told the whole story through Marvel. All of Marvel's, X-Men, you name it, it's all what it is, right? There's nothing, just go watch all those Marvel movies, and that's what's going on, pretty much. Hail Hydra! Yeah, I knew him. Like I said, Bill was a great guy. Really, he had, and that was back in the 70s and early 80s. That was, all these conferences were people who actually did things, who actually was part of things, who actually saw it, right? And you could tell it in their eyes. So you go look at a guy like David Wilcox and all his buddies, that whatever that guy's name who says he's from Solar Warden. You're watching, you're watching Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, your griot, and don't believe a word he's saying. He's telling you a story. Don't believe a word, not a word. But get a hold of him. And, Mr. Jabbergerber, if you want to talk, get a hold of me at the Dudawake42 at Gmail. And come on, you guys. The only people who really put any money into my PayPal, because I know it works, because 4 people put money in there. And those folks, they got really, they're not going, like good old Martin here, flown back from the French Alps, had a week skiing in La Plage with friends, was great. The folks who send me the $15 to $25 a month, they do it every month. They really, really, really are supporters. They have no money. They have families. They're working as garbage men, And so, Mr. Barton, come on, you own that fancy pub, and you just came back from France and skiing. Ooh, la la, So let's call some friends. Let's reach out. Let's talk to some folk. Let's see what we got. Let's see if our lucky guy will answer the phone. Oh, here we go. Lucky guy. Do 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 do. Boop 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 boop. Do 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 do. So you like the old man look?
Call has been forwarded.
So he wasn't around. Let's try. Let's see if Mr. Soul will deem us worthy to talk to. Do 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 do. Well, he usually picks up first or second ring. Let's try. Oh, let's talk to this boy. Boop boop boo boop boop boo boop boop boo boo boo. Boop boop boo boop 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 boo. Woo! No one's answering. So, what was truly interesting about New York was that it was like the, not only was it the garment district center of the universe, it was also the library and book publishing. And so the alternative book publishing world that was connected to things like the Theosophical Society and the Thule Society and all these other esoteric and mystery schools were all in New York. And what was truly, truly amazing was the New York City Center Public Library, put there by J.P. Morgan and Mr. Carnegie, right on 34th Street. And there was this big park behind it. And the 34th Street here, and then I think 8th Avenue was here, and I think this was maybe 5th Avenue, maybe. But or 6th, it was something 5th and 6th or 8th and whatever. But anyway, these two big avenues on either side of this big library, and it was a big park, and the sidewalks all the way around were like super jungo big. And there was a beautiful stone wall all around the library, and there were 4 entrances, right? And there was one going off of whatever avenue, I think it was 8th or 6th, coming, it might have been 6th, and this might have been 5th. Or this could have been 8th, and this could have been Broadway, who knows? But anyway, 34th Street Library, right? And so the sidewalks were super wide, gigantic trees that had been growing for like 100 years, beautiful park benches, and these beautiful tables that you could play chess on. It was just like the Union Square and also the Washington Square parks. And they're all 3 of these were very similar. One in the back of the library was kind of bigger and had all these great trees and a great place to have lunch. And they had all of these, what do you call them? Places, carols, there were these to-be things that booksellers, instead of paying a lot of rent, they could sell books there, and they could have tables all around it. And every 3 or 4 was a like guy making falafels or cappuccino. It was the best. Great food, great books, and there were guys who sold old, anthological books and books that just couldn't be published. And so Bill Cooper's, that's how I met Bill Cooper, was that he was in the back, he's in the park at one of these carols, And he had brought his own table and said, "Hey, buddy, I have this book. I'll give you 20 books if you let me just put my table here and sell them. Because I'm going to have, I'm going to be in the library here at a conference, which I was, helping putting together. And that's how I met Bill Cooper. And he was selling his book. And so I came and said, "Hey, you're Bill Cooper. I have the clipboard right here. You're going to be on our list." And I said, "Oh yeah." So we started talking. I bought him a falafel sandwich, and a glass of wine. That's how cool this park was, right? And you could buy the best marijuana there, right? You could buy any drugs there, right? And the cops left. It was like the no man's land. You could do anything you wanted. You just couldn't sell great weight, not a suitcase full, but, just enough to get your mind in the right space to read whatever book you're going to read. That's when New York was loads of fun, right? Because they were totally bankrupt, couldn't afford enough, like they went from having 30,000 cops to having 10,000. So they were not wasting any kind of time for people who were selling under $10 worth of weed, So, and that was what was great about New York. In that period of the 60s, from 55 to 85, it was the best of times, the worst of times. It really, really was. So if you ever saw that movie, New Jack City, they made that in the Lower East Side in Alphabet City in a building that was being actually used to do exactly what the movie New Jack City was about. Everything you saw in that movie, New Jack City, was actually going on right then and there, right? While they were making the movie. It was quite fun. That was a movie I kind of, I helped get the people who were going to put the electricity into it for that shoot. I don't think they shot everything there, but they did a lot of exteriors on that building. We just put big scoops up all around the building and lit it up quite nicely. And the rest was dark, right? So my friend Frank, who had this bar called Puffy's, and he bought the building, had been a workers' bar, and he turned it into a Merc bar and an artist bar. And it was the greatest because it was a big, long bar, like 60-foot long, and gigantic windows, floor to ceiling, 30-foot ceilings, pressed tin ceilings. And I helped, clean it out and get the water, gas, and electricity going, and turned it into our club, right? And Barnabas Rex had been our other club before it, and before that was a place that we had called the Raccoon Lodge that Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi bought from us, or took over, basically, because we just broke into the thing. It was kind of off of Chambers Street, Chambers and Varick, and we basically, it was this old workers' bar / speakeasy, really an amazing place. And my friend Finnegan was living in the basement. He was one of the mole people, right? But he was, he had his side scams going on. He wasn't just a mole person, but he was, just, if you guys ever read in The Invisible Man by Ellison, which The Invisible Man isn't like H.G. Wells' Invisible Man, like some experiment going awry. No, The Invisible Man was meant about Black intellectuals in New York and in the United States who were basically invisible, more brilliant than any white person. A good example is Zora. Zora, she was an anthropology student at Columbia with Margaret Mead, and she was a Black woman, poetess, novelist, painter, was one of the queens of the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. She came from Florida, from Port St. Lucie, and I had met her just before she died when my parents were living down in Florida. And I met her grandson, who is a stone cold Rasta boy from Jamaica, right? He came from that side of the family, and he grew up in D.C. And if you go to some of my older, original beginning Dreamy Dreamlands, there's a lot of video from when I lived with him and his band and his mother had bought a number of houses in this neighborhood of Port St. Lucie, and um, back in the day when things were super super poor and very very black, and back in the day in the 30s and 40s, the black people got together and turned their community into an amazing place of art and culture. And the high school that, the few pennies that the state gave them to have a black high school, they turned it into the best high school in Florida, to the point where the white people built a road and put a, razor wire fence around that school and and took all of the black kids who were in the segregated black school and bused them, you know, 10 towns away to this crappy white poor people school and called it integration. And then took all the rich people from the condo land on the beach into this school that was truly an amazing school. And Zora Nelson, but she went to Columbia and she actually changed anthropology of the world. And it was Margaret Mead, another woman who went and studied the American Indians in the Southwest and did ethnography on how they were really screwed. And Margaret Mead went to Samoa and had sex with teenagers. And basically, Zora was just a goddess. And you should go read Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks is a social anthropologist who, all her books are amazing because it's like Noam Chomsky wrote one really good book, Manufacturing Consent. And it was straight up. He did it in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, saying, hey, this is what's going on with media, right? Well, what's his name saying media is a medium? Norm was going on, hey, watch out for this. This is going to screw. I mean, this has always screwed us, but this is, once it becomes electronic. So, but that's about it for Norm. Norm's been milking it ever since. Zora and Bell Hooks, you should read her stuff. She makes Noam Chomsky look like an infant, right? And of course, no one knows about it. She's a black woman, brilliant, right? Along with Zora. Zora, really no one knows about her, but she changed the freaking world. Just and most women have. And I used to work at the Patent Library in D.C., and for one summer, and I was kind of, again, hiding in plain sight, and I was working for the federal government, and they were looking for me, and I'm working for them, right? Not too smart on their part. And I was help organizing the anti-war movement, but that's when I gave up on it, because that scene from Forrest Gump, where he gets the Medal of Honor, and then he strolls into an anti-war thing in his uniform with his Medal of Honor, and there's his Jenny, and he goes over there, and this guy who's wearing like a crappy uniform, from a used store, is beating up Jenny, and that's the amazing thing about that movie, Forrest Gump. Each of those scenes was exactly what was going on. That's the beauty of that movie. And the way the movie started with the feather floating through the air, right? And then at the end, when he's sitting there on the side of the road with his brilliant son, named the same as him, and that feather starts to fly. And the feathers is the metaphor of being in the flow. So my advice to all of you who watch this, and come on, you got to give more thumbs up than 2, please. Come on, and please put something in my PayPal. Come on, it's like And relatively sooner rather than later, I will be going back to the deep green, the forest, where there is no internet, where there is no anything, and I have no money, and to make a show like this, I have to drive 40 miles, and I'm not going to do it because I won't have any money because I live on $400, and the bottom line is that my because and I have other things to do. Now any of you who want to do something rather than masturbate, and now I'm not against masturbation. It's okay, but as a kind of lifestyle, it's pretty weak. It's pretty limp. You know, much better to share that vitality of fluids, the manly fluid or the female fluid, for that matter. Women actually have a lot more fluid than men do. Um, I mean, it's nothing wrong with rubbing yourself off. God invented the hand. I mean, that's what these digits are for. Forget about typing or pulling a trigger or pulling a screwdriver. Your fingers are there to masturbate with. That's why God gave them to you, right? And so, and that's well, I don't want to say. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. And this show is just for entertainment's sake, right? And I'm following the footsteps, humbly, of my great mentor, George Carlin, right? Just call me the Flower Child Weatherman, right? So, 1 hour, 1 minute, and 1 second. I love it when it does that, right? So, next time it does that, and if there are more than 5 people or 6 people and the ticker's going up, I'll keep telling stories. If not, by the time we get to another number such as that, bye-bye. And again, I will, as it gets warmer, and I've got other things to do, and I will be heading into an area that's not as easy to do 3 and 4 shows a day. Maybe 1 or 2 a week will be what you get, right? But, what can I say? I love you all. I'm here. This ain't a job. I'm not, making any cash on this. What I am here to do is to wake you up. Now, if there's only one person watching, there's not much waking up going on. And every time I end the show, I go, oh, look, 80 people watched. 3 commented, and then, and then when I go back the next day to go do it, and I look that the show has been put up on my channel, it'll say instead of 86 people watched, it will say that 6 people watched. So I'm being kept down on the farm, which is okay, because at least I'm putting these up on my channel, and I'm getting close to 2,000 shows. Pretty interesting. And I would suggest that you would go put these shows on a medium, like especially an optical medium, like a DVD, right? And because no matter what happens to the universal electronic world, something that is on an optical storage platform, it'll last. Whereas if it's on a hard drive, or if it's on a thumb drive, or anything of a chip-oriented storage medium, if we have, let's say, then I would say the odds are the thing that will wipe out the technological experience that we have at this moment will be an X-flare, because the sun has really, it's been in a solar minimum for 10 years, and it's really waking up. And a couple of weeks ago, we had like 12 X-flares in a week. Normally, you don't get that in a year. So, and the sun, you think HARP is the only thing around affecting the weather? No, our weather is affected by the sun. but what's going on out there in space? And they've been out there in space. The Nazis went to the moon in 1938, right? And they went to Mars in 1941. And basically, one of the reasons why they went into Russia was to basically, the business plan was Germany once again bombed into the Stone Age, repeat of the Boer War, repeat of the Crimean War, repeat of World War One, repeat, but rebranding all the time. So say goodbye so the Nazis were just a front for Hail Hydra, right? And we had super soldiers, we had them, and the Nazis had them, and we had them on the limited scale that appeared in the Marvel comics and movies, right? They were just experimenting them, and the same thing with the X-folk, they were experimenting with that also, right? So, in 1986-ish, I think, I went to, a friend of mine was being held by a clandestine crew. There I was sitting in my abandoned building on the Lower East Side, and my, bat phone rang, and yes, hello. And it said, do you know blah, blah, blah? And I say, click, ring, ring, ring. No. We have blah, blah, blah. Click, ring, ring, ring. Don't hang up. We have blah, blah, blah. And we're going to kill him unless you come and build us a nightclub. Click. Ring, ring, ring. Don't hang up. Please, don't hang up. Listen. Blah, blah, blah. Owes me $500. Click. Ring, ring, ring. Okay. Yes, he is an annoying guy. We're just going to kill him because he's an annoying guy. But if you come here and build us a nightclub that we want you to build, we will give you a very strong financial incentive, and you'll have a great time. Okay, keep talking. How big of a financial incentive, And so we kind of hammered it out, and the guy said, okay, go down to this airlines thing down in the Pan Am building, 34th Street there, and walk into that little office and give them your name and this number, and they will give you an envelope that will have your signing bonus that you can put in your bank account, and first class aircraft ticket and return opened for any time, and you do that, and 2 days from that point, a Mercedes will be at your front door to take you to an airport and put you on that aircraft. So all of that happened. I ended up in Brazil, in Rio. I was met, at the gate. I didn't go through nothing. They just and got a little golf cart, went down under boom, bing, off to the side there, and got in another limo, and we drove out to Buzios, where we, the guy who's driving the car, when you saw him in the window, he was wearing the chauffeur, white shirt, black tie, jacket, chauffeur hat. But when he got out of the car, bare feet, barely shorts, and he had super duper dark welder's glasses that fit over his eyeballs, that were like metal like this, but thick. I mean, they were that thick, and they went right up to the skin, all the way around his eyes. And I kind of got in front of him and looked, and he didn't even react like I was looking in his face, right? And we get put in the car, we take off, and he shoots like a bullet, right? And we're zinging along this highway, So Buzios is 200 miles north of Rio on the coast road, going up and down and up and down, and all of these big tractor trailers with big logs on them and all kinds of stuff. And he's just flying right, and the road is just wide enough for two of these tractor trailers with that much space. Cliff on this side, mountain on this side, and he's just flying by. And as we're going up the hill, he's flying by. And every time he does this, just as we get to the top, there is a tractor trailer coming straight out, and he just shoots right into in front of the tractor trailer that he was passing. And the guy who got me in a $2,000 suit was sitting there, at his little desk in the back of the thing with a light on it, and he is like, working away on his laptop and writing things and doing those stuff. And this is 1986, so laptops weren't really ubiquitous as they are today. And it didn't say IBM, didn't say, anything. It just was a laptop, right? And it looked pretty, comparable to what you would get today, right? It's comparable to the thing I have in my lap. And so I'm going, And so I said, how can that guy drive this car that way? And he says, he's blind. Like, what? He goes, drink some champagne. And in there, in that thermidor, those are really, really good blunts. Why don't you light one up? And I go, I guess I will. And he had some really nice goose pate with these nice little crackers. And, it was interesting, to say the least. And we're flying down the road, right? And, okay, we're coming up to 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. And because there's only one person there and 3 thumbs up, I'm going to stop right here. Right? And no one else has commented other than love you too, boob, Bob, James, right? Pale horse, yep. Knew that guy, yep. Please post a link to the PayPal to make it easier. Okay, if I can figure out how to do it. But other people seem to be able to do it. Me just saying go to PayPal and, I'll try and put that on. I don't know how to do it. And I really can't get John Boy to do it because he would like put it into his own thing. I mean, whether he is just totally brain dead, because I try to get him, he's supposed to be Mr. Albert Einstein on the computer. Well, I only use a Mac. I don't know about PC. Really? So I at this moment I can't do that. Right when I get back into the deep green and I go visit my and I may I'm trying to call up my guru laptop guy, and his phone is like seemingly not working. So who knows, right? But lots of other people. Where did that phone go? Oh, my butt. I got to get up and move. Oh, there that is. I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Well, I'm back. I tried searching for your name on Patreon. So I'm not on Patreon, you know. Hey guys, I'm 72 years old. I am, spoiled being a itinerant scholar. I spent 40 years in universities where, I had a pick of people, young students, to take care of every one of my digital needs, right? That were unbelievably wanting to learn from me, and I was getting paid pretty good by the corporate world to do such. And we did amazing things. We co-collaborated, but I'm out here all by my lonesome. No one. I'm just so tired. It's so unfair. Oh, I have to work so hard. That's all I hear, right? Or I want to own you, control you, do everything I say, roll over, take it, good luck with that. I don't need any of this. I'm very happy to live in I want to come to visit you. I've had a number of people who begged to come to, and they did goose egg, except be scared by the energy of the space. When I had my mystery school here, I did it for 3 summers, right? I had about 60 people show up. Maybe 8 were worth anything, and only 4 did anything. So, you want me to do it? And why am I here, right? Why am I in Roanoke? I am tying up all the threads. There were 20 different people and organizations that I helped start, that I wrote the grants, that I made the protocols, that I created the, why we're doing this, right? And they want me to continue to do that. And I never charged a nickel for it. When I worked in the corporate world, I made close to 70 grand a year for only working 11 weeks of the year, sometimes 5. Now, I live like a millionaire on $400. So I can't have any fun with people who want to do stuff, and then, there are entities like, the Rainbow Gathering, which I've been involved with since it started. And in the first 20 years, it was pretty freaking amazing. But it's just got worse and worse and worse, and debauchery and just, party. The spiritual. I mean, it used to be, we would walk into the forest. We wouldn't drive our cars. We wouldn't even drive our cars to the event, We would hitchhike. And we would carry just what we needed in there. We'd have it in our packs. At the very least, some guys who had kitchens, they would drive, drop the stuff off to the nearest path into where we were going. And we would physically pack it in by human beings, right? Because if you don't drive in, the police can't drive in. And if the police or the hidden hand can't drive there, they don't show up. So first 20 years it was quite nice. And we basically shared our knowledge with each other, and we meditated and prayed. And yes, we would party, but nothing. We would dance, around the fire with drums. That was our dancing, instead of, boombox, techno music, and everyone drinking, and one of our major, no alcohol. Yes, a little herb. Yes, a little whatever, but not a lot of anything. This was a spiritual thing, and that's kind of going out the window, right? And that's why I don't go anymore, right? And that's, I'm giving you a countdown here, kids. Unless people work together, unless they can be a cadre, unless they embrace, with respect and support for the elders like myself. I can't believe I'm in my 70s. Just I was always the kid. They were calling me the kid until I was 50. Right? Then they all died, and I became this guy. But I was always this guy. Even when I was 6 months old, I was this guy. Right? I was the lucky bastard. Right? So you want to have fun, And the bottom line is, The deep green is like both of the school is still has that energetic ley line right there. This John Boy, John could heal himself if he just walked. I made it so I could, my dog found it. She and I kind of scraped it out of the hill, and then I walked it. And as I walked it, there marigolds, there dandelions, there burdock, there everything I needed to eat to lose the weight and to be energized, right? And now I'm seeing on the advertisements on the internet all about that stuff, but they make you want to watch. They don't tell you about those 4 plants. Make you watch it for like 40 minutes, and then the last 2 minutes, and you can't take the little cursor and go all the end. No, you got to watch the whole thing because you're getting paid for how many minutes you watch the eyeballs, right? And the powers that be are playing with my algorithm to the point that there are no eyeballs. That's fine. I'm suggesting that you take all of this down and pass it on to others on an optical platform. So when in a few months, when all electricity ceased to exist, the words and teachings of your Sensei Al Bob will still be there, right? Anyway, so good luck with that. The I'm doing this. Why is Al, since no one can, I don't know how to go to the people. I don't know how to do that. Help me now. College degree. And this is how I talk to this. Well, good luck with that. Bye. Good luck.